Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Mya Constantino with the Deep Take Project, and I'm here with a special guest. He's a really, really great friend of mine. We've been friends for almost 3.5 years. And he actually has a really awesome podcast called Peel the Banana Podcast, and I've decided to bring him on to this episode. And we're going to explore some topics. We're going to ask each other questions. I don't know what's going to come up or what's going to come out of this, but we're going to figure it out. So thanks, everyone, for being here.
Awesome. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you having me. And, it'll probably go back and forth. I think people might be used to you just kind of interviewing, but it'll probably go back and forth with me asking you questions, too. So your listeners get to learn a little bit about you as well.
Yeah, and it makes me super nervous because I'm usually on the other end asking the other person questions. So I feel very vulnerable and nervous right now. I can feel myself like wanting to just be in interview mode and kind of deflect the attention, but I'm going to try really hard to lean in and answer your questions to the best of my ability. So, yeah.
Right, let's get started. Did you have any question that you wanted to ask, or you want me to just jump in and ask you one?
Let's go ahead and just jump in. Go ahead and ask me a question.
Okay. So for those that don't know, Mya's going on making big changes. She's actually moving to a new state, new job, everything. She's a young professional. And that's like...
That sounds so weird.
It's like it's just a big moment. Like, I've known a few people who've made that move, but it's still a pretty rare thing. I don't think a lot of people make those big jumps where they kind of do it all alone. Like, Mya's going and moving to a new state, a new job, everything by herself. So, and I think that's a pretty hard thing to go through. It's I don't know if it's common, but, I'm just curious of, like, your thoughts on that. What's going on? How you're handling that? Fears? How it's like when you're separating from your family because you're moving from a place where your family you're closer to them, and now you're going somewhere where they won't be. It's difficult. So
yeah, it is very difficult. Well, it hasn't hit me. I know that it's probably going to hit me when I'm on my drive to Sonoma with all my shit in the back of my car, and all I have is an entire open desert and really nothing to escape from. I've got to just lean into my thoughts and kind of just lean into all the uncomfortable emotions, which is, leaving behind everything that I've ever really known. So family, friends, the communities that I'm a part of in Vegas, it's really hard. And knowing that I have to go to Sonoma, I've got to incorporate myself into this new community and incorporate myself into a new job and with different coworkers and people that I'll be living with at the house that I'll be staying at.
Yeah, new roommates.
New roommates. So it's tough. I don't know how I'm dealing with it, really. I don't think it has hit me. I know that I'm nervous and extremely excited.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So what are you excited about? Like, what part of it tickles your balls?
Yeah, what tickles my balls? Well,
yes.
A lot. It tickles my balls. I think it's just the knowing that I'm heading into a new chapter. Knowing that, okay, great, this is like finally my time to really individualize, right? Like separate a little bit from my family, separate from my past, right? Because every time I'm in Vegas...
And here you go, you'll see someone you know from high school, or you worked with them at this place, things like that. A lot of familiarity when you're going from place to place in the town.
Yeah.
And it excites you that you're going to a new place without any of that, and you kind of get to recreate all of that again in the way that you might want to, without all the past baggage.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's great knowing that I'll be going to a place where no one's going to know who I am.
Okay.
Right?
Kind of redefine yourself.
Redefine myself, clean slate.
Mm-hmm.
And I can kind of just allow my old parts of myself to kind of wash away and fall away. Bless you.
Thanks. What is an example of an old part of you?
Example of one part of me. You know, maybe a part of me that's more people-pleasing. You know, I think that's a pretty big part of my conditioning and my programming, right? If we're talking about, you know, things that we've picked up from like family, society, school, that kind of thing. I think that there's a huge part of me that wants to be more aggressive. I think I'm a pretty intense and aggressive person as is, but I want to feel okay doing that. I don't want to feel like every time that I am aggressive or assertive that I have to like retract and feel guilty about it.
Right, so removing the guilt around
Yes. Yeah.
speaking up.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's my hope. I'm hoping that part of me will fall away with time, but also the space and, you know, just a new physical environment too.
Everything's new. New people,
New.
so it gives you the space to like, all right, not going to go do old patterns, make old choices. Bam. So
Yeah.
if I'm in a meeting, say, oh, I'm going to speak up and give my idea because it's important to me. Whereas past self might not have done that.
Right.
So, all right, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're excited about the opportunities of that. Anything else? Are you excited about like the nature, the environment?
Oh, I'm so excited for the nature. Oh my gosh. I'm excited for like the internal physical shift in me. When I was flown out there like a few weeks ago, to visit, right? I did my final interview out there in Sonoma, and I spent a few days just kind of exploring the place, and I immediately, sorry guys, there's a freaking truck that just pulled up right next
Someone
to us.
is dropping off a backhoe. They're trying to excavate the park we're in.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know what's going on.
Okay, we're back. We had a little interruption there. I believe I asked Mya how she felt about the change in scenery from going to Las Vegas desert. She'll be going to Sonoma, California. Have a little more trees. I know she's excited. How you feel about them trees?
I'm very excited for the trees. Like I said before, when I was flown to Sonoma a couple weeks ago to do my final interview for the job, I had a few days to explore, and I immediately felt clear and just more grounded. It's hard to explain, but physically I felt better, you know. And then the day that I did fly back to Las Vegas, I felt, you know, a massive difference. So I'm hoping that I can feel a little bit more connected to myself because I'm around nature and more natural things. I usually feel a lot better around, around trees and grass and rocks and everything.
And you're bringing your bike?
Oh yeah, I've got to. I've got a bike with a basket, and it's yellow.
What's it called again? A beach runner?
It's a beach cruiser.
Beach cruiser.
It's a beach cruiser that I was gifted on my 15th birthday. My 15th birthday was a surprise party, and I'd like bike around a lot, so my friends knew that's something that I really wanted. So, and I've had it ever since.
It's a good bike.
It's a good bike.
It can sit too.
It can sit too, and it has a bell too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Very fitting.
It's very fitting. I just need to make sure that it fits in the back.
She can fit it in the back.
Yeah, I can fit it in the back.
Yeah.
I can fit a lot of things in the back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I'm not bringing a whole lot in the car. You know, just the basic things, and hopefully the bike.
So very minimal. Not
Very
bringing
minimal.
a lot, not packing up the whole living situation with
No, and the reason why is because I know that I'm going to be on my journey. Like, Sonoma is not going to be this permanent place in my life.
You could switch. You don't want to have all this shit with you.
No. Like, my intention in life is to be as minimal as possible because I know that I'm going to need to, like, move to different places and not have to drag all of these things with me. You know? And I think when you add more stuff to your lifestyle, your plate, then kind of kind of drags you. You can't really
Yeah.
move a whole lot.
Yep.
Can't really maneuver.
It's a way down, man, and then you get sick and tired of moving. So
Yeah, because you have so much shit.
I love not having a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because you lived in your car for some time, and you live a pretty minimal lifestyle. You don't really have a whole lot.
I don't want a lot. So putting it in context, in the past 3 years, I think I've lived in 9 to 10 different apartments or places, like 3 or 4 different states. No, 3 different states, but like 10 different apartments. So I'm been all over the damn place recently. So yeah, I'm all about not having a lot of stuff, because I don't know where the next move might be, because I'm just all over the place. Yeah, but I like that. It's kind of reoriented my relationship with material things. It's refocused and reoriented what I like to put my energy towards. So I've noticed like a lot more of my money actually has gone towards investments or new experiments to try and, I've learned more stocks this past year, learning about the stock market, learning about how the money system works, banking system works. Previously, I wasn't really taking little amounts of money and putting it in that. Maybe I would have saved $20, just kept it in the bank account, and then it would have been used on like a restaurant here or something like that. Now I'm like, no, I'm going to take this $20 and put it into something to either build a skill or to see if I can sell it. I do a lot of flipping, so I'll buy something from a thrift store, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, whatever, and then I'll see if I can flip it and turn it around for more money. So I notice I now take my money and I value that more. I value building my skill set of that, or even just doing that more so than getting a nicer pillow or more blankets or a new bed or whatever,
Yeah.
And I like
definitely.
that. I like that because it gives me an experience, and I like putting my money towards things that hone my skills. So that's been cool. It's been cool. Or buying gold and silver. That's been the new one. That's been a new adventure for me. I didn't know shit about gold and silver, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start learning this game a little bit. And so yeah, living in my car, you can't have a lot with you, obviously, which is great. You're working off of the bare minimum, and you kind of reorient your relationship with what it's like to not have comfort and ease. So even as much as like a shower,
Yeah.
right? I would go to the gym to take a shower. That was cool because it got my ass into the fucking gym.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really good period of time in my life, actually. It was challenging. Physically, it was a little hard. Not enough leg room in a small Toyota, and that hurt my legs after a while, so that it wasn't sustainable health-wise, actually. But I guess if I had a bigger car, it would have been fine. But yeah, I like it. It's definitely, I've liked how it's changed me by going through that process. And all the moving. Oh my God, how many I guess I don't want to move another mattress. I don't want to move another goddamn heavy mattress.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think the last time I moved a mattress was maybe 4 or 5 apartments ago. And somehow, I don't know how it's happened, I've gotten lucky where there's always been a bed in the apartment that I come to. It's happened every time now. Even in Oregon.
that's
Even in
perfect.
Oregon. Even when I went up to Oregon in a new state. That apartment already had like a leftover mattress to use.
Oh, that's super helpful.
Yes,
Yeah, when the
super
room that
helpful.
you're renting is like kind of furnished already, you
It's
don't have to
already
bring
been
anything with
furnished.
you.
I've gotten
Yeah.
really lucky. I think in the past 3 or 4 apartments, it's already been good. I'm like, I'm not getting any more mattresses. I'm not fucking moving this shit. Chairs, all that's nothing. Just bare minimum. I just want to be, almost like suitcase, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously made it work for you.
Yeah.
Right? How long did you do that for again?
What? Living in my car?
Living in your car.
About 4 months. So not that long.
So do you remember like a moment in time where you're like, holy fuck, why did I do this? Like, why did I decide to live in my car?
Well,
Did you have a moment like that?
No, because I was always intentional to live in my car.
Yeah.
It felt like something I needed to do. Kind of like go to the bottom to realize that it's okay, so that it's easier for me to come up from that. I think for me, I always had a weird belief, I don't know what it is, trauma, belief system, or whatever, childhood or whatever, that money was really hard to come by, and that I was always afraid of like falling down in that way. Like, oh, what if I end up on the streets? I was always kind of afraid of that in some way. So it's like part of me was like, well, what if I just voluntarily go and live on the streets or live homeless? Then I know I can handle it, and then I don't have to be afraid of that anymore. That was kind of a lot of the motivation between that. So it wasn't like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm doing this, or why? How did I get here? I was like, I put myself there.
Right.
I had a new opportunity. I decided to move to Oregon from Vegas, and in that move, I was like, no, I'm just gonna live in my car for a little bit when I move up there. I'm not gonna look for a place. I'm just gonna figure it out. And so it was more intentional. I kind of decided to do that of my own accord, which is, much better than having to be forced in it. That's a much more difficult situation.
When you have no choice.
But that's part of the reason why, right? Can you imagine if I was just needed the apartment, I got the apartment, I was a little more stressed on money and making that work, and then maybe I got a family and I'm married or whatever, and then something happens, I lose my job, all my money goes away, and now I'm forced onto the streets, forced into a homeless position. That might be a little more emotionally devastating to hit. Whereas I'm young, I'm single, I'm on my own kind of thing. What if I voluntarily go through that? Well, now I know if I ever get back to that situation, I'm going to be fine because I've already lived through it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was kind of like a cool challenge in some way to do it. So there wasn't a point where I was like, oh my God, how did I get here? I can't believe it. There's moments where you're like, fuck, man, this is tough. No more of this.
Yeah, right.
You get to that. That's the beauty of doing that voluntarily.
Yeah.
Is you get to that point and feel that point where you're like, oh fuck, man, my legs fucking hurt because I don't have enough room sleeping, and I wake up and my legs hurt and they don't move as well because it feels like the blood's pooling, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm literally not walking as well. This is not healthily okay. I have to move out of this now.
Right.
Because this isn't fucking working. So I have to buckle down, make more money, go figure it out, and make adaptations and changes, and not tolerate this level of living situation anymore. And that pain and impetus jolts you out of it. You start moving in a new direction that finally gets you out of it.
So you felt like it was really important information for you to witness.
Yes.
For yourself.
Yes. For
in
me
order
to
move
see.
forward.
Yes.
And to know okay, no, this is something that I do not want.
Right. I don't want it. I felt the visceral experience of being in that state and be like, nope, don't want this. As opposed to this mental exercise. Growing up, I was in a safe household, good house. But homelessness is a possibility because you're learning about it, right? So this is in the back of your mind damn, I'm afraid to lose all my money, and I'm afraid to, what happens if I move out on my own and I can't get a job and I can't do this, da-da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
So, part of it, just face the fear and go into where I'm afraid of and fucking go through it and live it. And, get to that point where you're like, nope, no more of this. Now I'm out of this, can't accept it. And then my physiology adapts to it. My nervous system learns the lesson, which is what I care about. I don't care about my fucking brain and thinking and mindset bullshit. I don't believe in mindset. I want my nervous system to learn the shit. I want to viscerally go through the experience so that it's learned through my entire physiology. That's what I care about. That's why I launched myself in that.
So, let's talk about that, because that's interesting. Because normally most people, they believe that there's this emphasis on mindset, and if you are your thoughts sort of thing, but you more so highlight the body and being able to have that idea permeate throughout your body. So it sounds like that's a pretty common theme in your life.
Yeah, well, I lived in my head. I'm a white male. I don't know how to, white culture's pretty disconnected from emotion. So I lived 25 years of my life basically being in my head all the time. And I'm a really small guy, I have a really small frame. I don't weigh a lot. It's hard for me to gain mass. Very weak and small. I was born premature. So my experience growing up is that of more closely related to a prey animal. I don't have... You know what I mean? I'm very fearful, and that puts me into my head as a, very logical, try to make sense of the world logically. And so the reason why I emphasize no thought, no mindset is because none of that shit worked for me.
Right.
Everything started clicking and working a hell of a lot better when I got into my fucking body again, and I started feeling things and contextualizing stimulus and emotion and feeling and all of that, and playing with it and working with it to understand it. And also, it just feels like the way to really learn. You put yourself through the visceral experience entirely. So your mind is working on the problem. Your body is working on the problem. Every part of you is working on what you're confronting in the experience itself in reality, as opposed to just this mental exercise and trying to change your thought or affirmations about it, which none of that worked for me. I don't believe in mindset too much, because what is mindset anyway? It's the base assumption that a person jumps with when they're in like a conversation or an experience. It's the belief structure with which they immediately lead from. And so when people call each other out on having, oh, that's a bad mindset, you got to change your mindset, they don't realize that it's the instantaneous action of what that person responded with. That didn't come from your fucking brain. Your brain's slow. It's coming from your body, your nervous system first. Your belief structure, it's coming out of your inset belief structure that you have about the world, and you're leading from that. And so it's not about changing your mindset. It's about changing your fundamental belief structure, which is in your fucking nervous system. You want to change your mindset, change your nervous system, and you won't even have the thought. Whatever mindset was arising will naturally change to what you changed with your experience. That's why I don't believe in mindset, because mindset's like the secondary thing that happens.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's not really at the root of
it's not
what's
deep
happening.
enough. It's not deep enough in the human experience, in my opinion. So that's why I don't believe in mindset.
So when did you start doing this sort of work or practice or whatever you'd consider this?
When I got fired from my job and my old relationship started getting in the shitter, and there's so much that I didn't contextualize, and you enter depression because you can't make sense of the world, and it's like, holy fuck, what's happening? I don't have a skill set. I'm a guy. Oh my god, I'm useless. I'm worthless. Like, I can't get a job. I can't do this. I can't do that. My relationship's going down.
So how old were you when that happened?
25.
25. So you're 25 years old. You lose your job. Relationships crumbling. How are you feeling? What is going through your body, your mind? What is Sean Skinney thinking?
Confusion.
Yeah.
Mainly. Very, very, very confusing. That period of time, the main word I could use is confusing, because it's like I'm being confronted with reality, and I did not have the context, the skills, the emotional tool set to move through it. And I knew that. I was like, holy shit, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So just a lot of confusion. I didn't know why, say, the attraction in my relationship was falling apart and dying down, and what was happening there. And it's like, well, all right, it was one way, and now this is all changing now. What's going on here? I didn't understand why I couldn't get a job easily, why that wasn't clicking. I didn't understand why my finances was depleting faster than I thought it was. I thought I had a bigger savings. And shit, now I'm stressed about money even more. And it's like, what the fuck's going on? And then I realized I don't have all these skill sets. I don't know how to sell on the phone. I don't know how to sell in person very well. I don't know how to present very well. I don't know how to speak very well. I'm nervous on the phone. I get freaked out if I have to send an email to anyone. So dealing with that and dealing with job interviews freaks me out. Shit, okay, I didn't know I was this socially anxious. Now I gotta learn how to not be as socially anxious. Holy fuck, what's going on? All this stuff, reality smacked me in the face kind of thing, and I gotta confront it, but I don't know what the hell's going on necessarily.
Yeah, you don't have the tools.
Yeah.
You don't know.
So confusing and painful and depressing, because you're just met over and over with how inadequate you kind of are, and you're like, well, fuck life, shit. So it's tough stuff. Yeah, a couple medical things too. I had like a bladder infection that I had to go to ER for at that time. Oh my god, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was kind of one thing after the other.
Jeez, yeah,
but just
so much
painful
experiences.
Yeah.
Painful experiences, yeah. And yeah, it's tough. And facing the truth of your inadequacies, that was really painful. Fuck, man. Yeah, tough.
So what happened then?
Well, I don't want to derail the whole conversation going away from you moving, and now it's like my whole life past story.
Well, we knew this was gonna happen.
I know, that's kind of
how
you and I talk. Kind of goes all over, but it's always like a deep conversation. Yeah, okay. Yeah, ask another question, I guess. Yeah.
I mean,
So
let's talk about your first somatic healing session. Do you remember?
So I get confused when you ask that question, because you mean in a professional sense, because those somatic healing experiences were happening to me non-stop, because I was seeking like experiences, knowledge. I was reading, watching a shit ton of YouTube videos all the time, so I'm getting new
Not
references.
a professional session. Let's talk about the very first time when you started applying things that you were learning about.
Well, I'd say that was
somatic
against my will, in the sense that like I watched a YouTube video about, I forget what he was talking about really, but basically the video I watched on YouTube said something about how like you're in your head, and it's harder for people who actually enjoy their thoughts and like being in their head, which was me. I enjoyed my thoughts. It was my safe zone. It was very comfortable. I liked what I thought about. It's safe zone. I just felt safe there. And he was talking about like it's harder to get out of your head if you're someone who enjoys their thoughts, because that's your safe zone, all that shit. And I never heard anyone say it in those ways. He said it in better terms and more specifics. And I just remember it just like cracked something open. I remember I had to pause the video. I started getting teary-eyed, and I just laid on the floor. Like I just had to lay down on the floor, and I was just like, holy shit, that's me. That's what's happening to me. And like that's a very somatic experience, because it just like punctures your experience and puts you right into an experience in your body. No more fucking mind, not in your head, not trying to mentally rationalize and figure it out. Visceral experience. And I couldn't, like, just off of a YouTube video and someone saying the right thing, saying exactly like what my experience was, and I just like had to lay there. I will remember that all the time. That was like the crack. That was the thing that punctured everything and set me down a rabbit hole that led me to where I am now. That was it.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're laying on the floor.
Yeah.
Right? And
yeah.
You're being punctured for the first time.
Well, holy shit, that's what I do. I go to my head. I'm in my head because that's safe. And I enjoy it there. And to have to admit that where you're most safe and what you enjoy most might be the thing holding you back and like be part of the problem.
Right.
That's a hard thing to grasp and realize and face. It's like, oh wow, I got a journey ahead of me. I can't go there anymore. I can't go into that safe zone anymore, because that's what led me to all this pain now.
Right.
I'll just keep repeating all that pattern if I keep doing that. I gotta shit. You know?
And man, is that painful.
Yeah, that's why I was on
painful.
the floor. I had paused the video immediately. I just sat there for a while, like teary-eyed, and was like, oh my god, holy fuck. You know, just sitting there feeling the realization of that. Oh, all of my thoughts. I have to let go of them. I have to let go of that pattern. That means my life from that point forward means I'm questioning me, how I talk, my responses. Why did I start going into my head? Why did I start thinking there? Why did I do this and that? You know, like, oh fuck, man. Whew, I got a journey ahead of me, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's a lot to realize.
So, where do you feel like Sean is now?
Much better, much more capable. I feel like I'm deadly now, you know? Like,
How so? What do you mean by deadly? What does that mean?
just more capable. There's a duck right next to us. I love animals.
Sean loves animals, guys.
Duck.
Loves.
Come over here, please.
Look at them just waddling.
Man, they're just waddling next to us.
Chilling.
It's so cool.
They're hanging out.
Ducks always in twos. I don't know what
Always
that is.
in twos,
It's pretty
yeah.
cool.
Never threes, never fours.
twos.
Unless it's a mom and her little babies, but
yeah, I feel much more competent, much more skilled. I feel like I'm able to maneuver through social situations. There's a far less things that don't make sense and that are surprising. Almost all human interactions don't surprise me anymore. I'm like, I can see what's happening. I can see the root problems, the emotional things and reasons where people are coming from, the trauma that people are living through. Oh, they're acting this way because you can see it. Oh, they're anxious right now. Body language, things like that. So I feel way more deadly in that sense because I trust myself, and I've also met myself in those areas more. I'm
Right.
still working on it. God, that's a crazy big rabbit hole, and there's like infinite things to train and practice on and learn, and you know, you gain more and more context as years go on about how your childhood was and how it might have shaped you, and different childhood experiences with your parents might have caused a certain reaction that you then that becomes a habit for you, and unraveling those patterns and stuff, it's a never-ending process, really. You know, I'll keep facing them, but I'm at the point now where I feel very capable. You know, I feel like I just feel more competent with that stuff. It's made all the difference.
Right.
So
now that you have more awareness around different interactions in your life with strangers, you know exactly what's happening at the root of what's going on.
well, not
Does
100%, but yeah, for the most part.
Not 100%, but for the most part, yes. So does that affect how you interact with people?
100%.
Okay.
I'm way more compassionate, I think. Because I make pretty harsh decisions. People would say judgments, but I guess it is a judgment. But I make harsh decisions about how people can interact with my life and how much space they can take in it. I'm pretty harsh with that. As a man, that's really important. I think you have to make clear-cut boundaries, and you have to make harsh decisions about what energy you allow in your life. But anytime I'm interacting with someone, I have a much easier time understanding where they're coming from. And I can see it. I'm like, okay, you're probably feeling this way in your life, or you're making this statement because of this, or this is probably coming from this. And yeah, much more empathetic state, because I'm just like curious. I'm like, all right, well, how can we build more understanding around what's going on in this conversation, or what's happening, or you know, and maybe they have something to teach me, maybe they have something to tell me that can lead me to a better understanding. So yeah, it's kind of I feel more capable to not take shit from people, right? And to put pressure and challenge on things that I normally wouldn't. So that makes me feel more confident and grounded in myself, because I know I'll be a little more comfortable not just accepting what's given to me kind of thing. I'll be able to question things a little better. Or say, well, I think about this. What do you think about it? Do you really feel this way? Like, that feels good to be able to not just be people pleasing and be like, agree with it, say. That's cool. But then on the other hand, I'm able to like have a deeper connection with people by questioning them more, asking deeper questions that would have made me fearful to ask in the past, because the connection that you have to then engage with by that question would have frightened me. Like, ooh, I don't know if I want to connect this deeply with this person. That frightens me. I'm not comfortable with that. Bridging that and being more comfortable with that tension and that connection allows me to, just have better relationships, connections, conversations, better experience overall, and everything. I make faster choices. I'm not as fearful. You're right. I'll make decisions and just kind of jump into things a little easier, which is great. All those kind of things.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Feeling pretty good. Still struggle. Everyone struggles. You don't have to get into that. Other than that, like, anxiety and fear is kind of like a baseline for me. So my nervous system gets activated a lot. If people just want to know what I struggle with, so my nervous system will get activated quickly, and anxiety and I guess nervousness would set in fairly quickly. So that's kind of what I gotta calm down and maneuver through.
Navigate.
Yeah. Alrighty, I'm gonna segue here, kind of wrap you up with a couple final questions.
Wrap me up.
Yeah, wrap you up.
Okay.
Wrap up your own thing.
Okay.
So I know we just heard a lot about me. I still wanted to kind of emphasize your transition. And you come from a Filipino family, very close-knit, very together, a lot of events, you go to dinner together, you're spending a lot of time together, growing up, all that stuff. Whose relationship in your family is it going to be hardest to separate from when you do this move?
That's kind of a hard one.
You wanted it hard.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard one. You know, you would think, right, it's the person that you feel is that you're closest to, right? So the first person I think of is my dad. But I actually don't think that will be the hardest because we're so close.
Mm-hmm.
That connection, that deep connection will always be there. I think the hardest one that'll be difficult is probably my mom, right? Because I'm still kind of in this season and this phase in my life where I'm trying to repair that relationship with my mom. To kind of give you guys a backstory or some context, I love my mom. She's great, but we don't see eye to eye all the time. And it's been very hard to kind of feel connected and to see her as another human, not just my mom, but like another human who has gone through their own trials and tribulations and someone who was once 24 going out into the world and trying to figure it out. I go through seasons, right, where I'm like, okay, I see my mom, I understand her, and then some days I'm like, man, we are just polar opposites. But I think that might be the hardest one to let go of right now, because it kind of feels like there isn't any resolution, right? And I think repairing that relationship is going to take some time, and I'm okay with that. But it makes it difficult because she is not one to communicate all the time. She's not one to communicate her emotions to me. She's never really been like that. I don't blame her because it's not like she came from a family system that allowed for open communication.
Okay, so what does that look like specifically, behaviorally, in your life? So say you move there, like, or even before you move there, like what's happening now? What's the disconnect with the mom? What kind of behaviors? What's not clicking?
Well, I think what it is my love language is words of affirmation and communication. And so her love language is not that. She, you know, she gives gifts. That's how she shows people her love and care and all that stuff. And I'm learning that, and I'm learning to receive that. Like if she, you know, is giving me a thoughtful gift, I learn to just like accept that and receive, like, okay, so this is my mom trying to communicate this to me, that she loves me. But what is lacking is more so there's a part of me that wishes there was more, you know, more communication, more, hey, I'm here for you if you need anything, like emotional wise.
Right. I understand what you're going through.
I understand what you're going through. I've been there.
Right.
It's gonna be hard, but but I've been there. I get it.
You're gonna be okay, and I'm here
for you.
As opposed to maybe a critique or something like that.
Yeah, as opposed to a critique or.
And what's an example of what that would be? So like, what's an example of how she might communicate with you now versus what you would prefer to have happen?
Really what it is my mom is just, she gives gifts, right? So she'll offer like, hey, like let me know if you ever need help with money or anything like that. Any of the logistical things, which is great. I really appreciate it. But I don't really want help in that department. What I really want and desire is just a mom that's going to just be very raw and honest with me.
Okay.
And be very honest about her emotions too.
Okay. What does
and
that
kind
mean?
of see me.
Give me walk me through like a scenario, like a specific, like I'm your mom, there? Like what? How does that conversation look and go?
Let's see.
It could be an example of a text. It could be an example of an in-person one. Whatever works. Just give me a tangible, specific.
It's really
version
simple,
of this.
right? So I'm in Sonoma. I'm unpacking and stuff, and she's there. And I expressed to her like, "Oh, Mom, I'm nervous about this new chapter in my life. I'm anxious. I'm feeling all these things." And I think how my mom would normally react is she would say like, "Oh, like don't be anxious.
Don't
be anxious.
Just don't be it.
Yeah, don't be nervous.
Yeah.
Don't be nervous.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be fine."
Yeah.
I'd like a little bit more, something that tells me like, yes, it's okay that those emotions are there, and it's okay that you're nervous and that you're anxious. That's normal. I've been there, but know that it's going to be okay also.
You'll get through it.
Yeah. And maybe that's expecting a lot now that I'm talking about it now. But I think that there's like a really deep part of me that knows, that responds to that very well, because I've received that from friends, from mentors that I've had, right? I know that it lands very well with me. So through that healing and through that realization, I'm realizing that's something that I really want to experience with my mom.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, so the mom will be the hardest relationship to maneuver and figure out throughout this transition, huh?
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think it's going to be that terrible of a journey, to be honest with you, because all I've been wanting is just some physical space to allow me to miss people, right? I think that's important, at least for my journey with my family.
To miss them.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to miss my mom.
So the family isn't so like on you and in your life all the time. You want distance.
Yeah.
So that you get to
some physical distance to miss them, to create that, that feeling of desire, but also I want to zoom out and take a step back so I can fully see my mom clearly, right? Because sometimes, like, you've got to experience certain things for you to connect, like, different lessons that you've heard from people. You may not understand what someone is telling you, like, oh, this is, like, I learned this, I learned that, blah, 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 blah. I won't truly understand that until I've been in it. So, for example, me going out to Sonoma, starting this new job, having to make new friends and make new connections and individualize and separate from my family. Maybe through that experience, it'll help me understand what it was like for my mom to move to the Philippines at 21 years old, just had a baby, right? And like how much of a struggle that was, maybe she felt alone, maybe she felt confused, or life truly hit her in that moment. So I'm hoping through this next chapter I can realize and learn those little snippets and kind of witness myself and maybe in similar situations to then understand my mom a bit more. So that's what it is for me.
Yeah, and I've heard you mention that before, so I could see that being, I feel like that's an intention of yours to have that, so it'll happen.
Yeah. But I think that will be the hardest. Yeah. Because, I don't really know what's going to happen. I know the physical space is going to be great for the both of us.
Yeah.
But there's always that other chance of it not working out. And
well, yeah, that's what I was about to ask, is what are you afraid of happening? Worst case scenario kind of thing.
Yeah, worst case scenario is I get lazy and I'm like, no, physical distance, don't have to worry about the relationship. I don't really care. But that would really come from more of like repression and wanting to avoid this like uncomfortable emotion that I have around my relationship with my mom.
Okay. So yeah, entering a new phase where you have to step in a little differently with her. Figure that out.
Yeah, it kind of feels like an experiment. I mean, not to say that this entire move is for, you know, my family or anything like that, or wanting to repair it.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that it's kind of like, oh, let me try this out. Let's see what'll happen with a little bit more like physical distance and emotional distance, you know.
Yeah, right.
What will come out of that?
Right. Does she start texting you all the time and bugging you too much, and then you gotta like put boundaries around that?
Right,
or
right,
does it go a different way and it's a little more healthier than maybe you'd expected?
Right, and what if she does give me the exact distance that I need for this time in my life?
Or maybe your separation, your distance actually triggers and punctures something in her where that emotional connection that you're seeking, actually she starts strangely expressing that more. Like that's a possibility too.
Yeah, absolutely. So it really is a leap of faith all around, right? Moving to a different city, making new friends, and separating from the family. It's all a leap of faith.
Yeah.
But I like that stuff.
I know, you're a diver. Dive in.
Yeah.
She dives deep.
Cue the music. Yeah.
Cool. Sign off for it.
Yeah, so we've heard a little bit about Sean Skinney over here, and you guys heard a little bit about my story, and that was intensely uncomfortable, but thank you, Sean, for asking those questions, because it's kind of nice.
For sure.
Yeah. So
enjoy doing this with you. It's definitely going to be more.
Yes, a lot more. So if you're listening and you've made it this far, thank you so much for tuning in. Check out Sean Skinney's Peel the Banana podcast.
Peel this banana podcast.
Explore more of his story and journey, because he's got an interesting one. He's just a very unique and interesting person all around, and you will find that and learn that as you listen to his podcast episodes. So, thanks again. This is Mya Constantino with the Deep Take Project. Express yourself.